Yo YouTube, what's going on? It's HIGHMMA and today we are here to discuss the events of last night. UFC Saudi Arabia taking place, ADESANYA versus Imavov. This washed up Israel motherfucker lost. Even my cat's meowing about in the background. We're pissed off. I picked this fucking guy. I thought he could at least out kickbox Imavov, who's been pieced up by fucking Strickland. Like, I get that Izzy's been pieced up by Strickland, but dude, it's Izzy we're talking about. What the fuck is wrong with this guy? Oh, man, it's just a real kick in the motherfucking balls, you know what I'm saying? I really wanted Izzy to get the win. You know who else I wanted to get the win? Motherfucking Sharon Magomedov! There's a lot to get into today. I'm in a very bad mood. Well, I'm not in a bad mood. I'm not actually that mad. It was a good, it wasn't the best card of all time, but some pretty decent fighters got some decent wins. You know, Vinicius Oliveira got the win, which I was really happy about. I even picked Nurmagomedov, but I'm a huge Vinicius Oliveira fan. I was rooting for him big time, so I'm happy that this has happened, but there's not much more to really fucking, give you a little, brief fucking pre-video bullshit talk or whatever. So we're just going to get straight into this shit. The first fight that we are going to speak about today is the main event. It is ADESANYA versus Imavov. Now, look, first round, Izzy's looking really well. He's looking sharp on the feet. I feel like as time goes on, he looks like physically he's getting more stronger and more built, which is good for Izzy. Not good for his fight style, though, it seems. Because in round 2, this motherfucker got chinned. It is what it is. I don't give a fuck how good he was looking early in the fight. If you get chinned, you get chinned. It's as simple as that. And I've seen a lot of people saying, oh, it was an early stoppage, this and that. Bro, there was 7 unanswered strikes. What the fuck are you expecting Mark Goddard to do when Izzy's flat on the fucking floor, face down, and he's taken 7 unanswered strikes? That is not an early stoppage. That is what is called a stoppage that prevents further damage. Because what the fuck do you want him to do? Take 20 unanswered strikes? Like, what the fuck are we talking about here? So I don't think that was a bad stoppage at all. Imavov is a really good fighter. I said this in the lead up. He is an amazing fighter. The kickboxing is fucking slick. That fucking Brendan Allen fight was a really good fight. He showed grit and determination in that. And it also showed that going into this one, he had that grit and determination to deal with such a high-level skilled kickboxer like Israel. He went out there and took on Brendan Allen, a really good grappler, and dealt with the grappling. And he's also dealt with the best kickboxing that the division has to offer. Now he just needs to deal with the best grappling that the division has to offer. And you know who that means. That means either Dricus du Plessis or the main man himself, Khamzat Chimaev. I'm thinking that next we need to see Imavov either just sit out and wait for his title shot, because I feel like he's probably done enough work to earn the title shot, or he grows a big pair of balls, he starts Merab maxing and goes out there and fights fucking Caio Borralho next. Imagine he beats Borralho and Adesanya. He more than has earned a title shot by that point, and also he'll be riding loads of momentum. He will have fought more stylistic matchups going into the Khamzat fight, so he will be more prepared, and I really feel like it would help him a lot. I feel like a win against Borralho, who is one of these more modern MMA fighters to where, they don't stick to one martial art. They're very well-rounded, like Imavov, like Adesanya even, we see with him, not like Adesanya, like that, I worded that wrong. With Adesanya, we see he leans on the kickboxing too much. He got choked out by DDP, because DDP is well-rounded. He knows how to mix it up. And so does Imavov, and I think that is going to really help him going into the future, you know what I mean? He can deal with the grappling, he can deal with the striking, he's really well-rounded, and he's got fucking durability, man. He looks really fucking good. This is a great win for him in his career. It's not so good for Adesanya. I'm not really sure what Adesanya does next going on from this. He is kind of over the hill now, I guess, in terms of his prime. He's late 30s. Also, another thing to mention is the fact that, he's basically fought everyone there is to fight in the middleweight division. That isn't just a completely, useless fight anyway. What does he do now? The third Whittaker fight? Probably not. They're training together. I've seen a couple people saying, if Pereira loses to Ankalaev, they should run that back at light heavyweight. But more than likely, they just do the fucking rematch between Pereira and Magomed Ankalaev because of all of the work that Pereira has done in the light heavyweight division. And also, on top of that, I am one to ask, why would we be gifting Israel Adesanya such a massive shot up the rankings? So with that being said, I think it is either fight a fucking Borralho or some shit like that for either of these fighters, or for Imavov, just sit and wait for your title shot, or for Izzy, just get the fuck out of the sport, man. You've done your work, you've had an amazing career. In my opinion, he's the middleweight GOAT as of right now. That is definitely soon going to change, though. If DDP beats fucking Strickland and then beats Hamza, he's the middleweight GOAT for me personally. So I'm going to say to Izzy, you know, I tip my hat off to you. You've had a good career, but I think your time is up. I think you're over the hill. And there is no point fighting if you're not fighting for the belt, man. So get the fuck out, with all respect. But let's move on to the next fight. MVP versus my boy, Sharaputtin Magomedov. Shara getting beaten by decision. It was a boring fight. MVP is a boring fighter. And I'm sick of all of these fucking nerds glazing him. Oh my god, he's the best striker. No, he's fucking not. This guy is crawling around the outside of his octagon with his weird spider physique. My fucking boy couldn't land any shit on him. And then he's just popping in with his shit fucking hits. And oh, bro, he pieced up Shara pretty decently, to be fair. I think Shara took a round off him. I think he took that third round, maybe the second round. I can't really remember perfectly. Because I'm not going to lie, motherfuckers, okay? I was on a date, bro. I was watching the card while I was on a date. I was literally sat with the fucking stream propped up on my phone while I was talking to her. Like, we were watching it together. This is how I'm moving, bro. This is big high MMA. But basically, I couldn't really take as much notice of the Shara versus MVP fight as I would have liked to, so I can't really give you little minute details here. But what I will say is, I saw Shara fighting a good fight. You know what I mean? This guy's still early in his career. He's got loads of holes in his game, clearly. He's still a prospect. This is just, you know, this is just one of those examples where an old crafty vet, a can crusher like MVP, who's fought a lot of different styles, just has more tools in the bag. You know what I'm saying? He had more tools in the bag in this fight. And I'm not sure how true all this injury talk is from Shara. It might just be him making excuses. But imagine if he was actually being for real and he actually had like a nightmarish health condition going into the fight. You do have to take that into consideration. Now, for the purpose of the video, I'm going to act as though he is just lying so we can just speak about the fight and what happened. You know, MVP showed his distance management is just expert level. As much as I'm not the biggest fan of him, I have to say, his distance management is just, you know, like, it's next to none. I don't know what the fuck that even means. I feel like I'm saying it wrong. But, you know, going into the Kevin Holland fight, there's a reason that I picked not Kevin Holland. There's a reason I picked MVP. Because with lower skilled fighters, especially on the feet, MVP just knows how to control the distance every single fucking time. And that's why I picked Ian Gary against him. Because I said Ian Gary is also elite when it comes to the striking. And Ian Gary has the option to mix it up. Meaning, MVP's expert distance management isn't going to work. And it didn't. You know, I got that right. The ways that I went wrong with this fight is I thought that, you know, Shara's weight advantage would do a little bit better. I thought that Shara's just physicality and the fact that he's younger and more springy would do better. And honestly, I thought that Shara would have more power. You know, like with those kicks, he wasn't really doing as well as he could be. He was doing well early on. But I really thought they were going to cause more of a problem. I thought we would see him get another crazy finish. I'm not going to lie. I thought MVP was going to taunt too much or just go a little bit too out of the way, fucking around, and then it was going to fuck up his shit. But it didn't. So hats on to it. I can't even speak, bro. But hats off to MVP. Great win. What does he do next? I say he stays at middleweight. There is no point going back to fucking welterweight where you've got no future. You've already been beaten by Ian Gary, who just got beaten by Shavkat Rakhmonov. That is definitely not looking good for you resume-wise down there. So I would say stay up at middleweight, take another big fight. You know, you've earned yourself a ranking spot now. You've beaten Shara Bullet, and fight Costa next. If he fights Paulo Costa, he's gonna win by one of his little boring decisions again, like he did against Holland and like he did against Shara Bullet, because Costa isn't going to bite the fucking bullet. He's not going to run forward and try and KO MVP. So MVP is just going to win. It's as simple as that. So I think that's what we should be seeing next. But I'm going to move on to the next fight I want to talk about today. I'm sorry for all the stuttering, boys. You know, I'm kind of just walking around my fucking bedroom while I'm talking about this shit. So I don't really have a script in front of me right now. I'm just kind of freestyling to you motherfuckers. But let's move on to the next fight. We have to speak about Shamil the Blob Gaziev going in there doing what he does, getting that first round KO. Fucking insane from the Blob. I was really impressed. You know, Shamil Gaziev is one of those fighters, you know, after that Rosenstruik fight, I just thought, you know, this is another Dagestani that the UFC are just trying to fucking give a bone to, you know what I mean? They're just trying to give him a fucking easy route. But, you know, he's working his way back up now. He beat Budai. He beat he's beaten Peterson now. Who the fuck else did he beat? I'm sure he beat another one. I'm sure he's 3-1 in the UFC so far. That is really impressive. But I will say, what I want to see this motherfucker doing next, right? I want to see him fighting Kennedy Nzechukwu. Let me tell you about my boy Kennedy Nzechukwu, bro. This guy came up from light heavyweight, and he's piecing motherfuckers up at heavyweight right now. He went out there, absolutely mollywopped fucking Chris Barnett, and then he went out there and absolutely mollywopped fucking Lucas Bresky. 2 finishes in heavyweight since he's moved up. He didn't have the greatest fucking run at light heavyweight. You know, he lost to like OSP, but it doesn't matter because so far at heavyweight, he's looking really good. But the fact that we've seen him lose to someone like an OSP before, and you know, there's a couple other people that he lost to at light heavyweight that didn't really look like the best names on his record, that does fill me with the feeling that potentially we could see Shamil go out there, out-grapple him, outwork him, and get that fucking win. You know, we clearly see here, this motherfucker's got some power. And this is a big heavyweight, you know what I mean? This is a naturally 260-pound male. Like, you know, before heavyweight, Kennedy was cutting, you know, down to fucking 205. That should also weigh onto your mind if that fight was to happen. I feel like that would be a real barn burner. I feel like that is the makings of a real banger. You know, like, say Pavlovich versus Rosenstrike on this card was a shit fight, but it was, you know, it was described to be a potential barn burner. This is a barn burner, bro. Kennedy Nzechukwu versus Shamil the Blob Gaziev would be an absolute war, and anyone who thinks otherwise doesn't know the game. So I'm saying that's what we need to see next from Shamil. I'm super happy with the form he's in right now, and there isn't too much more to say. So I'm going to move on to the next fight I want to speak about today, and it is Vinicius Oliveira versus Said Nurmagomedov. One of the best fights on the card in terms of technical skill between the two fighters. You know, we got two really high-skilled bantamweights going at it here. You've got Said Nurmagomedov, where going into the fight, I was worried about his grappling, you know, the submissions threat. I really thought he was going to have a real chance to tap out Vinicius Oliveira. I thought Vinicius, you know, he does like to get a little bit wild on the feet, and he can be a little bit irresponsible defensively sometimes. I thought that he could accidentally run himself into a bit of a bad spot and get caught up in something, because we have seen him, you know, not look the best in the grappling department like he did look against Sopaj in that fight until he knocked him out. But he proved me wrong in this fight. He actually looks really good, you know, in round one. He was being really fucking... Dude, the door just started creaking in the background. That scared the shit out of me. You know, he was looking really good. He was looking like he was learning to use his patience a little bit. You know, early in the fight, you saw Said Nurmagomedov throwing out all these crazy techniques, you know, the back kicks, everything. And it seemed like Oliveira wasn't letting it get to him, and he was just waiting and biding his time, which worked out well for him because, you know, later on in the fight, he was actually doing more work in the grappling than fucking Nurmagomedov does. We had an Oliveira out-grappling a Nurmagomedov, ladies and gentlemen. It was fucking insane. What a sick fight. Vinicius Oliveira running a lot of hype right now, you know what I'm saying? He called out Umar Nurmagomedov in the post-fight interview. I don't think that'll happen. But what I do think we should see is potentially a Peyton Talbot versus Vinicius Oliveira matchup, or even a Said Nurmagomedov versus Peyton Talbot matchup. I feel like these three guys are the highest skilled, most talked about unranked bantamweights at the moment. They also have quite a decent bit of potential. So why aren't we matching them up against each other rather than having fucking, you know, Talbot fight Barcelos and getting fraud checked? Why couldn't we have him fight Said Nurmagomedov and get fraud checked and get caught in some crazy fucking choke? You know what I'm saying? I want some action. So give this motherfucker Peyton Talbot and let's see what happens. Said or Vinicius. I think that's what we need to see next. Because personally, I don't think that Vinicius Oliveira has done enough work to go straight into the rankings and fight an Umar, you know, who's just fought for the belt. It doesn't really make much sense. But Peyton Talbot, a huge name in the division. Everyone's going to be wanting to see him in his next fight. You know, he's coming off of a loss. People want to know if he's completely finished. I think he would be completely finished if he fought Vinicius Oliveira right now, to be honest. I feel like Vinicius could outwork him in the grappling, and I feel like he's a better striker, honestly. I really do. So that's what I think we should be seeing next. But I'm going to move on to, I think this is going to be the last fight we're talking about today, or there might be 2 more fights after this one, but I don't know. Let's get straight into it. The first one is Terrence McKinney versus Hadzovic. I'm not going to spend too much time on this fight because the image that I've used is super low quality, and I don't want to burn your eyes out of your skull, but the fight didn't last that long, so there's really not that much to say. My prediction was perfect. Hadzovic had taken too much time out. He's too old. He's not fast enough. Motherfucker nearly got caught in a guillotine, and then he just got chinned. It was fucking insane. Terrence McKinney is back, or should I say McChinney, because his chin definitely still isn't there. This motherfucker is like, what was his name? Paul Hawes? Chris Hawes? That motherfucker had the blonde afro at light heavyweight. Paul Hughes. It won't be Paul Hughes. Something Hawes. Phil Hawes. That's it. This is Phil Hawes at lightweight. I'm telling you. And he's looking pretty decent. I'm saying give him like a fucking... I don't know, give him an Oral Bly next so Oral Bly can get a win back, you know, get a nice little win on his resume and then move on to maybe a super, like, low-ranked fighter or maybe a fight just outside the rankings, because we saw in that Rebecki fight, sorry, I stuttered again, we saw in that fight that he does have the skill to be a ranked fighter. He just so happened to be up against someone who also has that skill. I don't know if Terence McChinney has that skill. I feel like he could get manhandled by Oral Bly. I feel like Oral Bly could even potentially KO him with, you know, the way that Terence McChinney looks in most of his fights. So that's what I'm going to lean towards, but that's what I feel like we should see next. So I'm going to move on to the final fight I want to speak about today, and that is... the final fight is Sergey Pavlovich versus Rosenstruik. Now, we saw Pavlovich doing a lot of grappling in this matchup. He wasn't doing what was expected, which was him throwing some big meaty hooks and getting some fucking crazy KOs, which is what we knew him for before the Aspinall fight, but it looks like he's switching up his style a little bit since then. You know, we've always heard about his Greco-Roman wrestling background, so it is good to see him using it, but I would have liked a little motherfucking Pavlovich KO, you know what I'm saying? I'm kind of mad at Rosenstruik for what he did to Tai Tuivasa and to Shamil the Meal Deal Gaziev. I wanted to see him take a little bit of punishment, but it's all good. It's all good. Good win for Pavlovich, though. It's good to see him back in the win column after losing to Volkov and Aspinall. I'm not really sure how skilled he is in terms of all of the heavyweights there right now. What do we see him do next? You know, maybe like, I don't even know. Who did Spivak just get beaten up by? Fucking... Almeida. Maybe Almeida's too high in the rankings, though. Maybe we need to see him fight Spivak next. You never know, but I feel like that's the kind of thing that we need to be looking at next. Maybe an Almeida, maybe a Spivak, maybe even a Marcin Tybura. You know what I'm saying? Something like that. One of those fucking heavyweight NPCs. Give him one of them. Let him get a little NPC win on his record and then go back into a big fight. That's what I think we should do, but... I'm going to wrap up today's video here, people. It has been a joy to make. I've just been walking around my bedroom, freestyling and just yabbering on. There's no script today. We're doing it raw. That sounds crazy as hell. But you know what? We're doing it raw. I've had a stressful few days. I can't be arsed with writing fucking scripts and shit. I'm just going to keep it real with you all in today's video and freestyle this shit. But you know what I'm going to say? I'd like to thank you all for watching. And, you know, I hope you have a nice day, a nice evening, whatever the fuck you're doing. And I'll catch you all in the next video. Peace.